You look moved in.
Just a few essentials. Manfred was a great help with the boxes. What a fascinating place this lighthouse is. What do you make of it?
I think I like it better with a necromancer in the place.
Do you?
Especially one with experience.
I must be sure to live up to expectations. Rook, interested in visiting the Memorial Gardens?
What are you up to?
I must tend to some rites in the necropolis. It should be peaceful and quite undisturbed. You'd be most welcome company. There are struggles, but a watcher should always find peace amongst the graves. And what sort of host would I be if we didn't end with some light refreshment?
Did you set all this up to make a good impression?
Of course not. I was only...
Because it's working.
Then it's my pleasure to share the tranquility of this place with you. Before you go, I wanted to thank you for your company in the Memorial Gardens. There's another ceremony I have to perform there. If you'd like to visit again. Not yet, but soon.
You know I can't turn down spending more time with you.
How lovely to hear you say so. I'll always be glad to show you around the tombs, my dear. At your pleasure.
I'll take you up on that.
Wonderful. Until then.
They come for this one. The spirits shriek. They come.
A name?
Blackthorn.
Return to your rest.
Not a flinch. You really know what you're doing.
Experience is the greatest teacher, and an open heart to what the spirits need.
I bet not every necromancer looks so dapper when they're working, though.
You choose the most extraordinary moments for compliments.
Is that bad?
Quite the opposite. The magic laid upon a hand of glory is complex. Whoever killed its donor left their mark.
So it'll lead us to whoever cut it off?
Precisely. Most likely the necromancer who's been helping the Venatori. It would have taken extraordinary skill to layer the involutions on this artifact. What a waste of talent.
I like how passionate you are about your work.
Death is one of the primordial forces. It breaks bonds as it lays the ground for the new. At times, there's something stirring about the elegance of it.
That's quite a way of putting things.
I always choose my words carefully. Oh, the Song of the Chambers won't have anything on what Johanna's... Perhaps the Waking Scrolls? No. Manfred, have you seen the Fellmarch manuscripts?
You and Manfred need an extra pair of eyes for... whatever this is?
I suppose it's time I explained this mess. Johanna Hesenkos was a watcher. She was banished for embracing the darker paths of our art. Forbidden magic, blood sacrifice, nothing is beyond her if it leads to power, recognition, or both.
It sounded like you knew her before all that.
We were friends, once.
If it helps, you've got someone who cares right next to you.
That's very dear of you, but I'll be fine.
It's so cute how you're such a bad liar.
Things used to be much better between Johanna and me. She truly was brilliant, and we got on so well as students. We partnered on papers, rituals, research. Yet even then, Johanna considered the Watcher's oaths quaint. This isn't the first time we've crossed paths since she was exiled, but now I fear she's turned herself partly undead.
Even after what she's done, I feel a little bad for her.
Well, undeath isn't always a disadvantage. But yes, you saw Johanna's lantern of unwilling souls. A necromancer could create monstrous undead with that much stolen life.
Hesenkos was yelling a lot about conquering Navarra City.
We must stop her, Rook. Thank you, Manfred. Quite right. The Order's knowledge will see us through. Ah, hello there. Just admiring how carefully the Fade is woven into this place, as cultivated as a palace garden.
That's old elven stuff for you. Magic everywhere you look, and also where you don't.
I do envy you, Rook.
Really?
The Lords of Fortune have a reputation as boisterous treasure hunters in Navarra. Not to mention traveling with Varric, the adventures you've already had.
You cut a pretty intriguing figure yourself. Do you really think of me as some grand adventurer?
Well, something thrills at traveling with a daring young woman who's racing to stop an apocalypse, especially if she's shown unexpected interest in a new companion.
Well, the distinguished looks don't hurt your chances.
I'm fortunate you think so. May I show you something of the greater Fade here?
Go ahead.
Close your eyes. Take a breath. Slow, deep. Be born on the great currents. See now as they see. When I talk to the dead, their echoes abide with me. Thoughts and passions, hopes and desires. The shades of death have greater depths than you may know, Rook. If your attentions go beyond charming flattery, that would interest me, indeed.
I think they already...
You finished the reagent. Excellent work, Manfred. I must tend to this, but I'd be delighted if we found each other later. Do you remember, Rook, when I mentioned another ceremony I must perform at the Memorial Gardens? The time has come. I was hoping you'd accompany me again.
More grave lighting?
No, this would be a more personal visit, whenever you've time.
In memory of Rupert and Eleonora Volcarin, they walk eternity hand in hand.
After I became a Watcher, I erected a proper shrine to my parents. When I come to talk, I like to think they listen. Don't be shy. Introduce yourself.
Rook, it's a pleasure. Do you remember your parents?
Some memories are bright. Others are akin to those dim early morning dreams one gets sometimes. Lately, I wondered what they'd think of our current course, the choices ahead.
Your lichdom.
What would they have wanted me to be?
Happy with someone who cares for you.
Shroud's Kiss. I've always loved the legend around this flower. They say it grows on lovers' graves, and that one moves closer to the fade simply by inhaling its fragrance.
Is that true?
It is when I will it, my dear.
What else?
What a day of unexpected splendor. Rook, darling, I was thinking of spending an evening with just the two of us.
I'd like that.
Wonderful. I've made all the arrangements at the necropolis. We'll leave whenever you're ready. How did you find everything?
Best meal I've had in a graveyard.
One advantage of being senior staff is requisitioning the kitchen's better cooks.
You did that just for me.
I'd hoped the evening might impress. The amount of work on you worries me, Rook. Responsibility exacts a toll on the body.
I have been more tired lately.
More so than you might even realize. I do ask that you at least avoid putting pressure on that stiff left wrist.
It's a little stiff. Impressed you spotted it.
Well, I am familiar with the finer points of anatomy. It's good we made time for this. A couple should get to know one another in comfort.
Time to dig into our feelings?
I'd be delighted if the mood moves you.
What's your favorite color?
Well, can I only choose one?
Let me guess. Black? Green? Yellow, but like a bone yellow?
Lilac.
Ah, of course you went to a flower.
It's such a pretty shade of purple. It brings thoughts of spring. And what's your favorite shade of color?
I love gold. And it's also my favorite color. Between the two, I was always probably meant to be a Lord of Fortune.
And the Lords suit you. I can't imagine where else you could have sprung from.
It's white.
White's not a color.
Fine, it's my favorite non-color. White like fresh snow or lilies or the moon.
Well, the imagery is lovely.
Devastating charm aside, what do you like about me?
Apart from the compliment of your interest?
Come on.
Darling, it's gratifying a fresh-faced adventurer noticed me at all. And your spirit does charm, but there's also something quite indomitable about you, Rook. It inspires.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so, Emmrich, I wanted to tell you something. You're my first... anything. I've never been with anyone romantically.
We can move slowly, and I'm glad you chose me.
It's been good so far.
Oh, excellent.
Anyway, should we enjoy the garden?
Certainly. They're wondering what we're up to. Wisps are ever attracted to the gardens.
Like you?
The Fade is close here. As our spirits, I count as guides and friends. Beyond that, I feel there are mysteries past our comprehension. Something beyond the weft of magic or deepest Fade. When I'm fortunate, I spy suggestions of them here.
Like when you're out looking at stars and you stare so long you're dizzy?
Yes, the indefinable, tipping its faintest reach into ourselves.
Totally what I meant.
Sometimes, my dear, I think you indulge me.
When I'm in the mood.
Emmrich, you and Rook visit the necropolis lately?
Yes, I've been showing Rook around.
That have anything to do with the fancy dinner menu Manfred showed me?
He took... of course, those gilded edges.
It's sweet. You and Rook have fun.
I heard another rumor, Emmrich,
What is your latest hearsay?
that you and Rook are getting tight. Making eyes, warming the cockles of your heart, tugging at the old bone.
That's quite enough.
Sure, but if you need any tips on hand-to-bone combat,
My dear young Devron, I know perfectly well what I'm doing.
make that your next book.
I don't understand why you're bringing so many books.
Well, I don't see what your objections are to my taking a canopy.
We're only going for 2 days.
You've hardly brought more than a flask and a bedroll.
Should I send a search party out for you two in a couple of days?
No.
Of course not.
Emmrich wants to see more of Ferelden, so we're going camping. But he's treating it like we're going to an academic thing.
An expedition can have its earthly comforts.
You want to bring a shaving kit in the woods.
My dear Harding, a gentleman is never without a brush and a razor.
The whole point of going to the wilds is to get away from all that. So what if you get muddy and smell a little bad?
One can enjoy the scenery while remembering to bathe.
Emmrich, you always look good. And you can tell me all about the trip when you get back.
Of course, darling. It is only 2 days after all.
Emmrich, if you liked someone, what would you do? To show them you like them, I mean.
Strangely enough, I might have found myself in that situation recently.
You mean you and Rook?
You noticed?
Emmrich, everyone noticed.
Well, it began when we spent some time together in the Memorial Gardens.
Don't, spirits hang around there?
Oh, a few, certainly.
So you're with Rook now?
We're exploring the matter, yes.
Good. I hope you two do good stuff.
Thank you, Tosh.
Just don't do corpse stuff in bed.
What?
No, sorry, you're right. It's not my stuff. Do corpse stuff in bed if you want to.
Thank you, Tosh, for the sentiment. If only we could make Johanna see reason.
You tried before. She seems stubborn.
Perhaps that's why she attained immortality, while I quake on the threshold. If I make my own bid for lichdom. Oh, it's no use pretending this hasn't stirred up that old dread of my own mortality.
I'm always here to talk about it. You know that, right?
It's a comfort, darling. Truly, but... Oh, Johanna was never beset by these sort of fears.
Well, a little fear's healthy. You'll feel better once we crash her lair and destroy that lantern. Promise.
Oh my! A body from the House of the Verheims, prepared during the Storm Age.
You're adorable when you get excited about things like this.
Well, who wouldn't be, darling? Such a rare find.
What's that, Volkaren? Afraid to chance death for your precious spirits? For all your fine words on the subject, only I had the courage to risk my life for our art.
He's still got twice your backbone.
I see Volkaren somehow did net himself a paramour. It's touching that you brought your new friends to die with you, Volkaren. I'll be sure to bury you and your new lover in the same tomb.
Thanks for stitching that seam on my coat, Fred. It was coming loose. And nice new threads yourself.
Thank you.
Yes, we needed something to mark him as an apprentice around the necropolis.
It's a good fit. See you around.
Yes.
Oh, you know what to call me. Okay, bring it down now.
He's excited for his training. Manfred's spellcraft is coming along nicely, more or less. Some undead have the potential to cast magic. I believe his was unlocked by his journey through the Fade.
What was that like?
Dunno.
You mean you don't know?
Dunno.
We must work on that enunciation. Why don't you fetch the primer?
There goes our magic-flinging skeleton son.
Well, I wouldn't go so far. Certainly I've a responsibility to educate him, and he'll need moral guidance. Most spirits do. But did you know, yesterday he said the most amusing thing while...
He's got your eyes.
As he grows, Manfred will better learn to take care of himself. I won't worry so much when I pass on.
How do you feel about that last part?
I have moments of regret for what lichdom might have been. But none would make me exchange this for anything. Darling, I'm just finishing reviewing my bequeathments. It made me consider a topic I must broach. The eve before we kill a god, my thoughts turn to mortality and what we are to each other.
All right.
Even under the best circumstances, you will outlive me, Rook. You've grown to mean much to me, and I care for you, Rook. Deeply. But there are such years between us, I shouldn't heap you with that burden.
You're breaking my heart by worrying.
Darling, I only wish to be fair to you.
I know what I'm getting into.
At your age?
Oh, don't start.
We must consider this.
You're overthinking it, and it's not the time.
One of us needs to consider my mortality.
Because you're worried about me or insecure about you? I get it. You're scared because you love me.
What?
It's fine to say it.
I can't... At my...
You're older than me, I get it.
I'm perfectly serious.
So am I. Why are you making this such a big deal?
One of us has to pay attention to these things.
One of us needs the guts to say how he feels. You care about me? That's so sweet.
That's not what we're discussing.
It could be.
If I'd known you'd waylay my point,
Are you gonna do this every time we go up against something dangerous?
I wish to approach things with a clear head.
Or you're overthinking everything.
One of us needs to consider these things.
Maybe one of us just needs to admit that he's scared. Look, let's pack. Eat before we face a god, right?
As you say. Don't start.
Why does Emmrich have to... I mean, I know he's just... I should talk with Varric, too. Get any last advice for killing a god.
Rook, darling, I wanted to say...
Yeah, about that argument.
It's no time to apologize, is it?
We'll talk back home, Emmrich. I promise. What did this place used to be?
This isn't the first time blood's been shed here. There are old deaths trapped in these walls. Darling, are you certain you're all right?
We've still got work to do. I can collapse when this is over.
Rook, let us send word to all our allies. Your only task for now should be to rest. I hope you're feeling more yourself soon. I'll be back. Rook, dearest, please trust me. I must take you to the necropolis before we confront Elganon.
I trust you, Emmrich.
Thank you, darling.
Did we have to risk visiting the necropolis?
I needed its subtler enchantments to detect what we must know. There's no mark of the cursed Solus left on you. Darling, I thought I'd lost you forever in the Fade.
I thought so too. It was... Oh, I don't know what that was.
A dream, a reflexive curse you overcame with your own reflection.
I'm still not sure how I got out. Or how you all heard me.
There are things in the Fade we cannot circumscribe. I'm grateful it returned what's most dear to me.
If you and the others hadn't pulled me out... Know what I kept thinking in the Fade, Emmrich? I wasn't afraid I'd die. I was afraid I'd be there forever.
You're not. You're here with me.
I'm fine, Emmrich. It's all over.
Only because you had the presence of mind to push forward. If things had gone differently...
I still wouldn't have let them keep us apart.
My love, you are the most remarkable person I've ever known.
I did have someone to come back to.
Rook? I was going to fetch some breakfast. Would you like anything? Come again?
What time is it?
It's nearly dawn. I've been up for an hour.
If you didn't have stately good looks, this would be a problem.
Is that yes to breakfast?
Maybe later. How come?
It's when I normally wake up.
On purpose? Of course you're an early riser.
I like to take my exercise in the morning.
That's nice. Peaceful down here. You could almost pretend nothing's wrong up top.
When I'm with you, it feels as if there isn't.
We could stay here just a little longer.
What are you... If you insist.
That's sweet.
I do mean it. Whatever's in store for us, together, my darling. That's how we'll face it.
I know.
I'll be ready whenever you are, dearest. We should depart soon, dearest. How I wish we were already safely home together. I love you, my darling Rook.
If I lost you, Be careful out there, Emmrich.
Promise me you'll do the same.
I promise. I can't imagine what my life would be like without you, Emmrich.
There's so much I'd like to say once this is past. To plan with you.
I'd like that. I love you too, Emmrich.
Come what may, I will carry those words with me. I'd no idea we'd be drawn together when we first met. No man alive is more fortunate than I. Speak the word, Rook, and I shall stand by your side.